So this is the sixth draw. Mogura in Japanese, which means mole, sensei would sometimes refer to this as. The situation in which it was used was when somebody grabbed your right wrist and you did some jujutsu, in this case a wrist compression, most commonly, but they were still holding you, so you couldn't get your right hand free, and so you drew with the left hand and then stabbed down into the foot of the person grabbing you, forcing them to let go, and then taking distance back into kasumi. So this is what you did if people were still holding on to you. One of the problems with it, if you do it with a steel sword, is that the sheath has a tendency to come out when you try and draw your blade. You will perhaps push the blade out of the sheath with your thumb, but if you then draw the sword, sometimes the sheath just travels with you. So to sink down and expand your belly, therefore tightening your belt, which grips the sheath, is an important part of this. Expanding your belly or sinking down, or both. The sinking down also is to increase the distance as much as possible between the mouth of your sheath and the arm above your head to get the sword clear of the sheath. But at least in part, it's also to solidify the belly and grip the sheath with the cloth of your belt. The technique itself, I think, comes from the Tsumezabato, like the one last week. And it's the most bloodthirsty, I think, of all of the draws here. The one where you're most obviously doing a nasty bit of damage, and therefore my personal least favorite. And the Tsumezabato is, in any event, an area that I'm not as familiar with as I am with other parts of the curriculum. The people who are most familiar with this, I think, are probably my senpai Roden Mitsuko in Michigan, who have the deepest knowledge of the whole curriculum, I think, and certainly Rod is very knowledgeable about the Tsumezabato, I think. The sinking and drawing also causes, when you attempt to step back to take distance, it means from a sunk position you have to really articulate your hip joints, which is itself also a very, very good practice, I think. And you can see there the articulation, the sinking in and coming back out of the hip joints, similar to the forward cut, which is a very, very good practice, and I recommend you pay close attention to it. The other thing to practice this week that I think is very interesting is the cut to the rear, particularly using the upper body. So opening your side and sinking under your own arm as you step. By now I'm hoping that the step and the lift, opening, closing of the side to cut to the rear is becoming more natural to you as you become more familiar with this. There's two versions based upon the distancing, basically. What you might think of as a close version, which is what I'm doing here, which would cut into either the sword that's attacking you or the wrist or arm of the person attacking you from behind. And you are basically keeping the sword quite close to yourself. The other version, which I'm trying there, is to extend. And when you extend from the hips. You almost brush your ears with the inside of your arms as you step, and lean forward from the hips to get maximum extension, like there, for example. And that should give you the distance back to the body of the person attacking you, if they were attacking at correct distance to cut your head. However, simply stepping under and dropping down is also effective simply to cut the wrist, right? And so the faster you do it, the closer to your body it tends to be, and both versions are very much worth doing slowly and thinking about, and the things they teach your body are quite interesting and useful, I think. So there I'm waggling my head to tell the person I was showing this to at the time how far up my arms go and how close to my head they become in the middle of that cut. Yeah. And then, having done the full extension, return back to your own center. The cut going out to do its damage, and then coming back to restore your balance. So sinking to mobilize the hip joints. When you can't get access to your hand, and cutting to the rear are the 2 points to practice. Thank you.